In the annals of aviation, some aircraft are defined by their blistering speed, others by their ghost-like stealth. A select few are remembered for their grace and beauty. And then there is the Lockheed C-130 Hercules. It is none of those things. The Hercules is not a creature of elegance or bleeding-edge technology. It is a workhorse. It is a flying truck, an airborne fortress, and a global lifeline, all rolled into one impossibly rugged and adaptable airframe. For over 70 years, it has been the one plane you call when the job absolutely, positively has to get done, no matter where, no matter when, and no matter what. This is the story of how a simple, brilliant design became the most indispensable military aircraft the world has ever known. Our story begins not in a designer's workshop, but in the harsh, unforgiving crucible of the Korean War. In the early 1950s, the United States Air Force, or USAF, was facing a crisis of logistics. The aircraft tasked with tactical airlift, planes like the venerable C-47 Skytrain and the C-119 flying boxcar, were relics of a bygone era. They were piston-engine beasts, slow, limited in range, and woefully inadequate for the new realities of warfare. They needed runways, preferably paved ones, and loading them was a slow, back-breaking process. The war in Korea, with its rugged terrain and primitive forward airstrips, laid these deficiencies bare. A new kind of airlifter was needed. In 1951, the USAF issued a demanding set of requirements for a new transport aircraft. The list was ambitious, almost fantastical for the time. They wanted a plane that could haul 30,000 pounds, 3,600 kilograms of cargo, carry 92 combat-ready infantrymen or 72 paratroopers, and operate from short, unprepared, and unpaved airstrips. It needed a low-level flight capability to avoid enemy radar and a rear ramp for easy loading of vehicles and quick airdrops of supplies. Essentially, they were asking for a tactical transport with the soul of a bush plane and the capacity of a freight train. Many established manufacturers looked at the requirements and balked. But at Lockheed, a legendary engineering group known for taking on the impossible, saw an opportunity. That group was the Skunk Works. Led by the brilliant engineer Willis Hawkins, the Lockheed design team decided to ignore conventional wisdom. Instead of adapting an existing design, they started from a clean sheet of paper, with the cargo bay as the central focus. Their philosophy was simple: build the perfect box for carrying cargo, and then figure out how to make it fly. The result was a design that was utilitarian to its very core. They chose a high-wing configuration, which kept the 4 powerful turboprop engines and their massive propellers high above the ground, safe from rocks and debris kicked up on rough fields. This also left the cargo area completely unobstructed. The cargo bay itself was a masterpiece of practicality. It was over 40 feet, 12 meters long, 9 feet, 2.7 meters high, and 10 feet, 3 meters wide, fully pressurized and accessible through the single most revolutionary feature of the aircraft: a hydraulically operated rear loading ramp. For the first time, trucks and armored vehicles could simply drive on and drive off. Cargo pallets could be rolled in and out with ease. Paratroopers could exit from the rear, and supplies could be airdropped with unprecedented accuracy. To handle the brutal landings on dirt and gravel, the team designed a robust landing gear system that retracted into pods on the side of the fuselage, again ensuring the cargo bay remained a perfect, uncluttered space. For power, they turned away from piston engines and embraced the future: turboprops. The 4 Allison T-56 engines gave the aircraft incredible power, allowing for steep takeoffs from short fields while being more fuel-efficient than pure jets. On August 23, 1954, the prototype, dubbed the YC-130, took to the skies for its maiden flight from Burbank, California. It was clear from that very first flight that Lockheed hadn't just met the Air Force's requirements, they had shattered them. The aircraft was powerful, stable, and remarkably agile for its size. After rigorous testing, it officially entered service in 1956, christened with a name that perfectly embodied its strength and versatility: Hercules. Almost immediately, the C-130 Hercules established itself as the new global standard for tactical airlift. But its genius was not just in hauling cargo. The fundamental design was so sound, so incredibly flexible, that it became a sort of aerial multi-tool, a platform that could be adapted for almost any mission imaginable. If you needed a flying ambulance, the C-130 could be configured as a medevac, or medical evacuation, transport, capable of carrying dozens of litters and a full medical staff, turning the cargo hold into a state-of-the-art emergency room in the sky. When pilots or sailors were lost at sea, it was the HC-130 Combat King, a dedicated search and rescue variant, that came to the rescue. Outfitted with advanced sensors and observation windows, these planes could loiter for hours, scanning the ocean for signs of life. They could drop survival gear and coordinate with rescue helicopters, serving as the airborne command post for the most desperate of missions. For the United States Marine Corps, the Hercules became a flying gas station. The KC-130 variant could refuel helicopters and other low and slow aircraft in mid-air, dramatically extending their range and loiter time over the battlefield, a capability that proved absolutely vital. In the shadowy world of special operations, the Hercules took on its most secretive roles. The MC-130 Combat Talon and Combat Shadow variants are marvels of specialized engineering. Equipped with terrain-following radar, advanced navigation systems, and electronic warfare suites, these aircraft are designed to fly at dangerously low altitudes, in total darkness and bad weather, to penetrate deep into hostile territory. Their mission is to insert, extract, and resupply special operations forces, making them the unseen hand that places the tip of the spear. And while some variants were designed to save lives, others were tasked with staring nature's fury right in the eye. The WC-130, operated by the Air Force Reserve's 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron, is famously known as the Hurricane Hunters. These heavily reinforced aircraft fly directly into the heart of tropical cyclones and hurricanes, dropping instruments and gathering data that is critical for forecasting a storm's intensity and path, providing warnings that save countless lives on the ground. For operations at the literal ends of the Earth, the LC-130 was developed. Outfitted with massive skis in addition to its wheels, this is the primary aircraft for supplying scientific outposts in the brutal environments of Antarctica and the Arctic, capable of landing on vast, unprepared sheets of ice. From a flying hospital to a polar explorer, the C-130's adaptability seemed boundless. But its most terrifying and dramatic transformation was yet to come. It was a transformation that would take this gentle giant, this symbol of logistics and support, and turn it into one of the most feared and destructive weapon systems ever to fly. It would earn a new set of names: Spectre, Spooky, and the Angel of Death. The story of the gunship begins, like so many military innovations, out of necessity during the Vietnam War. The Viet Cong were masters of moving troops and supplies under the cover of darkness along the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Traditional bombers were too fast and inaccurate to hit small, moving targets at night. What was needed was an aircraft that could loiter over a target area for hours, patiently watching, and then deliver a precise and overwhelming storm of firepower. The idea, known as Project Gunship, was to mount side-firing weapons onto a transport plane. By flying in a tight circle, called a pylon turn, around a point on the ground, the aircraft could keep its guns trained on that single point indefinitely. The first attempts used older C-47 transports, but the real potential was unlocked with the far more capable C-130 airframe. The first gunship variant, the AC-130A, was a revelation. Initially armed with 7.62mm miniguns and 20mm Vulcan cannons, it could pour a torrent of fire onto a target with terrifying accuracy. The sound of its guns earned it the nickname Puff the Magic Dragon. As the program evolved, the armament became progressively heavier. The AC-130 Spectre variants were upgunned with 40mm Bofors cannons, a weapon typically seen on naval vessels. But the engineers weren't done. They decided to do something that bordered on the insane. They mounted a 105mm howitzer, an actual piece of field artillery, into the side of the airplane. The image of a C-130, a cargo plane, firing an artillery piece out of its side while circling gracefully in the night sky is one of the most surreal and deadly realities of modern warfare. Equipped with advanced thermal and night vision sensors, the AC-130 gunship owned the night. It could hunt and destroy targets that ground troops couldn't see, providing devastating close air support. For enemy forces on the ground, the first sign of an AC-130's presence was often the sudden, catastrophic explosion of everything around them. It became a weapon of immense psychological power, the unseen ghost in the dark, the angel of death. While the gunship variants carved out a fearsome reputation, the standard C-130 was quietly becoming the backbone of military and humanitarian operations around the globe. Its ruggedness and simplicity made it the perfect export aircraft. More than 60 countries have operated the Hercules, from the Royal Air Force in the United Kingdom to the air forces of Brazil, Japan, Australia, and Israel. It has been a truly global workhorse. During the Vietnam War, it was the logistical linchpin, landing on precarious dirt strips carved out of the jungle. In the 1982 Falklands War, both the British and the Argentinians operated C-130s, using them for long-range maritime patrol and vital supply missions. In times of peace, the Hercules has been a symbol of hope. After devastating earthquakes, tsunamis, and hurricanes, it is often the C-130 that is first on the scene, landing at damaged airports to deliver food, water, medicine, and rescue teams. It has flown missions in the deserts of Africa, the mountains of Asia, and the jungles of South America. During Operation Desert Storm, a massive fleet of Hercules aircraft formed an aerial bridge, moving colossal amounts of supplies and personnel into the theater of operations. In the modern conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan, its ability to land on short, austere forward operating bases has been indispensable, keeping troops supplied in the most remote and dangerous locations. By the 1990s, the C-130 was an undisputed legend. Most aircraft designs from the 1950s were long retired, sitting in museums as relics of a past age. But the Hercules was still in high demand, and its production line was still running. The question for Lockheed was not how to replace the Hercules, but how to improve it. How do you make a perfect design even better? The answer was the C-130J Super Hercules. On the outside, the Super Hercules looks almost identical to its predecessors. The genius, after all, was in the airframe, and you don't mess with perfection. But internally, it is a completely different beast. The C-130J is powered by new, more powerful and fuel-efficient Rolls-Royce engines, driving futuristic six-bladed composite propellers. These upgrades give it a shorter takeoff run, a faster climb rate, a higher cruising altitude, and greater range. The real revolution, however, happened in the cockpit. The old analog dials, gauges, and switches of the original Hercules were gone, replaced by a modern glass cockpit with digital, multifunction displays. This new avionics suite is so advanced that it reduced the required flight crew from 5 down to 3, a pilot, a co-pilot, and a loadmaster. The navigator and flight engineer were no longer needed. The Super Hercules is stronger, smarter, and more efficient, a worthy successor ready to carry the legacy of the Hercules deep into the 21st century. From its conception as a solution to a Korean War problem, the Lockheed C-130 Hercules has woven itself into the fabric of global history. It is more than just an assembly of metal, wires, and engines. It is an institution. It's the sound of help arriving after a disaster. It's the sight of paratroopers filling the sky on D-Day. It's the shadow in the night that protects troops on the ground. No other aircraft in history has been in continuous production for so long, and no other aircraft has proven to be so versatile, so dependable, and so utterly indispensable. It is a testament to the power of a simple, robust, and brilliant idea. The Hercules is not the fastest or the stealthiest plane in the sky, but for over 7 decades it has been the one that matters most. It is, and will remain, the undisputed king of the airlift world. The story of the Hercules is a perfect example of how a single piece of military hardware can define an entire era and a specific capability. It wasn't designed to be a fighter or a bomber, but the role it perfected, getting anything, anywhere, anytime, is just as critical to victory. If you find these deep dives into the history of legendary machines as fascinating as we do, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. You don't want to miss the next investigation. And that brings us to our mission briefing for you. The world of military history is vast, filled with incredible vehicles, untold stories, and legendary figures. We want to know what you think we should tackle next. Is there a specific warbird, iron horse, or submerged titan that you believe is crying out for this kind of deep dive treatment? Drop your mission suggestions in the comments below. We read every single one, and your idea might just become our next featured story. Thank you for watching.